This is Rebecca. Today I'm showing you how I made my robe à l'anglaise, and I used a pattern by Black Snail Patterns, and I will link her Etsy shop in the description below. Now, unfortunately, I did not film all of my construction process, but I did film all of my deconstruction process, so hopefully that will help you all get an idea of how the robe à l'anglaise went together. And if not, ask me any questions you want in the comments below. Starting out, I cut the back piece out of just some extra cotton I had laying around to test the pleating and to see how that all went together, even before I did it on my mock-up fabric. So it was like a pre-mock-up just for the back there. And so I didn't bother ironing it because I just wanted to practice doing the pleating, and I think I did it correctly. It went together, it ended up going together well when I put it all together, so I was pleased with the way it came out. So the back piece is cut all in one from the back of the bodice down the back of the skirt, much like the Angela Clayton pattern I used for my sister's dress that I did a video about. So since I had already done that, I was fairly certain how it was going to go together. But this pattern has those really beautiful back pleats. So I wanted to get a little extra time practicing putting those in. The instructions were great, how to adjust the pattern for more width. So I cut out the pattern in the largest size with some mock-up material first, and tried that on, and then made that adjustment where you cut it up to a certain point, and it's marked on the pattern, and the instructions were very clear, and I was very thankful for that, and it ended up fitting really well. Oh, the horror! Actually cutting out my real silk. I was so scared. You can see on that pattern piece that I had the width adjusted already and had made a new pattern piece. I did most of the construction of this gown at my parents' house over Christmas, so I actually didn't film. That's part of why I didn't film, and also I was in a huge rush trying to get it ready for New Year's. So I took a few photos. That's the pleating, and then I took a photo of the gown pretty much once I had gotten it together without the sleeves. And I wore it, and it was not complete. I decided, once I had some time, to actually finish it and to make sure everything was in correctly. So here I am, and just hemming the petticoat, which I did not do before I wore it. And so I spent some time hemming, just doing that by hand, doing a simple whip stitch on that hem there. Of course, it's amazing once you start redoing a project, you realize how many mistakes you've made and what you should have done initially. So it was a really great learning experience for me to try to finish the dress and also to fix some of the things that I had done wrong in my haste to get it finished. There were tears trying to finish it. I was still sewing it as people arrived for the party, so shame on me for not giving myself enough time. Deconstruction begins. I am taking out some hooks and bars that I had hastily put in, and put in the bars on the facing the wrong way, or the hooks facing the wrong way, so I couldn't actually use those hooks and bars to keep it closed, and I ended up having to pin it, which is period, but I didn't have any decent looking pins. I had like the ball head pins. So I realized I had put the skirt on in the wrong place, so I unpicked all of that and unpicked the bodice from the lining material and decided where I wanted the pleats to begin to put the skirt on. And I did that, of course, for both sides. I repleated everything, and they were not perfect or completely even, because as much as I say I was trying to fix my mistakes, of course I still made more mistakes. Okay, so I'm getting started finishing my robe à l'anglaise by Black Snail Patterns. And so I have worn this. I wore it for New Year's, and I was in a rush. I didn't get it finished the way I wanted to, and so I decided to, you know, take it apart a little bit and fix the things that I thought needed to be fixed, and finish the things that I didn't finish when I wore it the first time. So some of those things are, I was in such a rush and crazy. When I attached the skirt, it's supposed to attach, you know, closer to under the arm, but I attached it right at the front, which I'm sure there are fashions from that time period that did attach right at the front, so I think it looked fine, but you really couldn't see the underskirt or the petticoat underneath it. So I unpicked it and just used these clips to keep it together, and I repleated it, and so I'm going to, if you can see that, I'm going to attach that the way it's supposed to be attached, and then I actually might end up unpicking all of this because it's not sitting correctly. As I said, I was in such a rush, and of course I brought it on myself, being in such a rush. Not giving myself enough time to complete what I needed to complete. But this trim is just tacked on, so I want to get that down more securely, and then I need to put some closures in. I don't know where the boning went that was on this side. I'll have to cut that again. And this is silk taffeta. The inside is just a poly lining. I also want to need to finish these raw edges on the inside, and finish hemming the sleeves. And then I did this one. Yeah, I realized after I wore the dress that I had only hemmed one sleeve and not the other. Luckily, I mean, it was for a family birthday celebration, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but it made me laugh when I realized later that it wasn't finished. But yes, so I just need to reattach the skirts, reattach the bodice down here, and hem it. Hey Thor. He's deaf, he can't hear me anyway. But, and then put closures on the front and give it a good ironing. And yeah, I think I am going to unpick all of this and reattach it because it's not sitting quite right. Then I think I'm going to add some of this lace trim to the sleeves, to the cuffs, but I haven't decided yet if I want to do that. I don't know. And for my closures, I think I'm just going to use hook and eye tape. I don't know. Or should I just do individual hooks and eyes, and then I can do some of them going one way and some of them going the other to make sure it stays closed. I don't know. Have to make that decision still. But that is my project for this week. Preview of upcoming sewing adventures. Some Regency stays. So I set about tacking those pleats down again. Well, basting them down, basically. I just used a running stitch for this, and I did that to both sides. And then I'll secure them more when I sew the bodice down. I always have this issue when I'm working with large amounts of fabric of deciding how to lay it best, and especially because it was already, the bodice was already attached. I was attaching this to the lining and trying to get my hands in a good position to where I can reach things and not sew through other layers. I always have that problem, partly because my table is not that big. It's just a standard sized desk. I need a big cutting table, but then I need a bigger house for that, so we'll see. Thor is always coming in back and forth to check on me. I am assuming that's what he's doing, because he comes in, looks at me, leaves again. A little bit later, oh look, back again, leaves again. Patrolling his territory, I guess. All 4 of our pets are rescues. 2 of them came from the local Humane Society. Thor and Lucius are deaf pets. And then Loki came from another local rescue. And Hercules came from a friend of mine's, one of her students had him and couldn't keep him anymore. And they actually thought he was a girl, though he was obviously a boy. His name was Natasha back then, but we changed it to Hercules. It's actually Hercules Mulligan is his full name. So we often sing Hamilton at him. So once I sewed the skirt on, then I pinned the bodice over top of that, and then I'm going to sew the bodice down. So I started out sewing everything together on the bodice. I started out with the front of the bodice, sewing that closed, and I used just some whip stitches, I believe is what I used. I think I have a close-up of it later. Hercules is, of course, making sure I stay on task. Or not. He's perhaps trying to distract me. I think he's just trying to stay away from all the dog's shenanigans. This happens to me a lot. I get focused on what I'm doing and I don't even know what the animals are up to. I have no idea what the dogs were doing here. Playing with a ball. Fighting over the ball. Hercules is very interested in Thor's tail. So I repeated this on the other side as well, to close both sides. Just checking to make sure it's all okay and then getting some loose threads off that were there when I unpicked it to begin with. Now taking my time and sewing down the bodice to the skirt. Checking to see if I like the way the stitches looked. I ended up changing the stitch I was using because I didn't like how it looked. Started off with a back stitch and then went to just a running stitch. And I just kept on going till it was all sewed down. With Hercules' supervision, of course. Then I pricked my finger. I had some tea and took a break. It's important to take breaks. So I got the bodice sewn down, or you know, and it's pretty good. I'm not the neatest hand stitcher, but my pleats are not perfect. They're not perfectly even. Mostly because I put the skirt on, put it on wrong initially and had to kind of move everything. But honestly, I'm not all that concerned. It's nice and floofy, and I'm definitely not a perfectionist. And so I think this will be just fine. I just used a running stitch. I actually started out with a back stitch, but then I didn't like the way it looked, and then switched to a running stitch. So that's how it came out. So I need to do the other side. I also, attached the outer fabric to the lining on the front here, and I just used a whip stitch for that. So yeah, progress is being made. Then I hemmed the skirt, and which took a while, as it always does. But it's kind of soothing. I find it rather soothing. And then I attached hook and eye tape. I did ultimately decide to use it, although now that I've worn it once again, I'm thinking of taking it off and doing something else entirely. Still haven't decided. Always new ideas come to my head. Actually, looking at the video, it looks like I did the hook and eye tape before I finished the other side of the bodice and skirt. Who knows? Who knows why I did that? But I must have needed a break from that. Don't know, but looks like that's what I did. But all that matters is it all got together eventually. And My husband was nice enough to come out into a bit of wilderness with me in Louisiana here and take some video and photos of my gown. I really like the way it turned out. I think it looks nice. I think it looks nice on me. Is it perfect? No. Are there things I could improve? Most definitely. But am I happy with it? Yes. Very happy. I also filmed a video of doing my hair, and so I will have that up next week. Tell you what, that bum roll really gives some extra lift. Ooh, what have we here? 21st century technology, perhaps. Pictures of twirling, because of course I did. It's so much fun to twirl. And the dress, the gown, it just moves so beautifully. I'm very, very happy with it. I think I just tripped. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.